The riots in Baltimore and Ferguson were inevitable. Sure, on the surface, the reasons for the rioting were the murder of Freddie Gray and Mike Brown, but Sigmund Freud would have told you that you shouldn't take everything at face value. Lots of times, that face secretly has a penis in it. Of course, Freud also famously said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. But as George Carlin reminded us, that still means a lot of times it's a big fat These riots were inevitable because the police have been militarized and left unaccountable in order to protect the outlandish, psychotic, egregious wealth of the 0.1%. Mob violence is a symptom of a class war that we've been in the middle of for decades, a war perpetrated against the bottom 99.9% of us, and yet we live in an era of mental slavery where we don't even see our prison bars. We just paint Game of Thrones characters on them, and then it seems like a razzmatazz. But Lee, if there's a class war against almost all of us, then why are most of the rioters black people? I'm glad you asked. I think it's because the color on your TV screen is turned too far to the right, maybe. It's the hue. You got to adjust. It's right about there on your TV. Just adjust. Did you go too far? Am I red now? Did you make me red? Anyway, if you fix the hue, you may find that most of the rioters are still black. But it's because black people have to deal with both the ongoing destruction of the working class and systemic societal racism. There are twice as many black men enslaved now in our prisons than were slaves before the Civil War. But here's the larger point. We need class warfare right now. But I don't mean violence. Because violence involves a lot of, like, running and jumping and throwing pitchforks. I have something wrong with my shoulder where I just do this a few times and it's like a dull ache. It's like a dull ache. So no, we need a class war of the mind. According to David DeGraw, the U.S. has at least $100 trillion in wealth. $100 trillion. A little tiny Seth Green-sized portion of that could change our entire society. It is a ludicrous amount of wealth. As DeGraw points out, in a time of insane wealth, we have an all-time record-breaking number of people living in poverty. The number of homeless children has grown 60% in recent years. And the best idea we've come up with for dealing with homeless people is to put spikes on our sidewalks. Well, it worked with the pigeons, and we got to punish the homeless somehow. I would say put them on timeout, but they're kind of already on timeout. In a time of insane wealth, many people are working 2-3 jobs they hate, enslaved to a system that makes as much sense as a master's degree in creative writing. As DeGraw says, once you truly grasp how much wealth there is, we can then begin to transcend the fear and scarcity-based consciousness that keeps us imprisoned. Yet this class warfare continues day to day. In 1968, the U.S. minimum wage was $1.60. If it had kept up with income growth and distribution, it would now be over $21 per hour. $21 an hour. One guy working one job used to support a whole family. Nowadays, he can't support a whole drinking habit. I mean, forget a whole family of drinking habits. The 400 richest Americans have the same amount of wealth as the 200 million people at the bottom. And a system this unequal is incredibly unstable. More unstable than a coked-out Bill O'Reilly on his period. Standing on a chair made of balsa wood on top of a house of cards on top of a live iguana.
We'll do it live! It.
Plus, I'm going to be haunted by that. Plus, we live in an incredibly corrupt tax system where we're forced to pay for our own enslavement. We spend $1 trillion a year on national security. $1 trillion freaking dollars. For 20% of that, we could literally end hunger and poverty globally. What better security is there than getting the entire impoverished world loving us because we ended poverty? Why have we not done that? Instead of leaving it to Bono so he can get all the ended world poverty, huh? The truth is, The truth is, poverty and scarcity are obsolete and barbaric, like airplane instructions on how to put on a seatbelt, or self-help books telling you that positive thinking will cure your diabetes and help you find good parking spots. Poverty is the threat that keeps the masses in line. Remove the threat and the system of mental slavery begins to unravel. If you still don't think we have enough money, when the 2008 collapse happened, suddenly the Federal Reserve created trillions of dollars out of thin air and gave it to themselves to keep the scheme going. Funny how the power elite find the money they need when it's their ass on the line. Would you play a game of chess with a guy who keeps adding pieces to the board whenever he feels like he needs them? No, you would tip over the goddamn board and then click the little chess clock as a final you. Ah! Click. We are mentally enslaved to this system, and it doesn't make any sense. We need class warfare of the mind, a revolution in thought. Because really, I can't do the pitchfork thing. I can't. There's something. It's like a dull throb. I can feel it right now. I can feel it.